Like I set that boundary like 5 or 6 times, and you continually kept doing that. I was being incredibly nice to you, and I was establishing a boundary, and you have for no reason 1 second to sit there and stop and be like, "Oh, a person is setting a boundary with me. Let me be nice. Let me be respectful of that boundary."
In this clip, we have an upcoming liberal Gen Z commentator who goes by the alias Parker Get a Job. This individual has amassed 1.2 million followers on TikTok, as well as over 140,000 subscribers on YouTube, with a following also on X. This individual has come up with Dean Withers, another popular Gen Z liberal commentator who got famous from a Jubilee video, and as such then turned into a career and has taken his best friend Parker alongside him. In this particular clip, Parker Get a Job crashes out when a live viewer stops into the live show and challenges Parker on his trans attraction, thus sending Parker to go on a spiral, arguing why he is still actually straight despite finding trans women attractive. Here's the clip.
My attraction doesn't stop with trans people. I'm not attracted to trans people. Is that enough for you? Can you now stop asking me about questions? I've been very clear.
Whoa, what?
I've been
not attracted to trans people. You would date a trans.
Dude, I'm gonna go fucking insane. Jake, you're gonna get.
You just admitted you would date a trans woman.
I said that my attraction does not stop with trans people, right? That trans people can be attractive to me. Can you please stop annoying me with this now? Please, can you stop annoying me with this? You are honestly right now crossing my boundaries. I'm not trying to talk about what is attractive to me. Okay, is that a boundary that I can place, or do I have to kick you off the live?
Yes, you're good. You're good.
Jesus Christ, dude! I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. Like seriously, this is incredibly invasive. As a person, as a human being,
I'm sorry.
You are being incredibly invasive right now.
Okay.
Like I set that boundary like 5 or 6 times, and you continually kept doing that. I was being incredibly nice to you, and I was establishing a boundary, and you have for no reason 1 second to sit there and stop and be like, "Oh, a person is setting a boundary with me. Let me be nice. Let me be respectful of that boundary." You have zero boundaries with people, zero understanding of how to communicate with people. It's actually ridiculous. The fact that you're on my live right now, right, is only because I'm being nice to you.
Okay. So you said you would date a trans woman. We'll move on.
Dude, I'm not on the tour. I've completely disassociated myself with that.
Yeah, you're clearly on the Pride Parade tour, buddy. If you really want to date a trans woman.
$5. Thank you so much. And honestly, under your view, who cares? Jake,
who cares that you want to date a trans woman?
Why are you so concerned with the sexual preferences of other people?
Because it collapses your logic, bro.
It didn't collapse my logic.
It's a very hard conversation, and it gets you flustered because you have to admit you're straight, and you have to admit what a woman is.
I am straight, and I did define what a woman is.
What does it mean to be straight?
Can I ask you a question? What is it?
You said you would date a trans woman, bro.
Yes, and I am straight. I already defined it for you. I referenced that it's sexual attraction towards the opposite gender. Now, can you please?
I think it's fair play, bro. I don't care if you ask me about getting pegged. I'm going to tell you no. The difference was our answer.
Wait. But you just said, you were like thinking that was like ridiculous or something, and you were trying to be like, oh, are you attracted to me because of that?
No, I think it's just disgusting getting pegged.
Why is that disgusting?
Oh, that shit. Number one, I'm straight. I like women, and I can actually define what a woman is.
Wait. Are you saying, is it disgusting for women to find men attractive?
No, of course not.
Why not?
But
you don't find men attractive.
Women are not getting pegged. Getting pegged is like
Jake, can you please acknowledge this? You can understand that someone else has different attractions than you. You can see that if women find men attractive, right?
100%. Like you like trans women, and I don't. I recognize that.
Please stop. You can acknowledge that if women find men attractive, right, it is the case that you don't have to find men attractive, and you can acknowledge that makes sense and not say that that's disgusting. So why is it the case that you have to point towards certain people's sexual attractions when we're talking about consenting adults, right? And you point to that and you be like, that's disgusting, right?
Yes.
Why?
What's wrong with thinking something's disgusting?
No, but like, why do you consider it disgusting?
Because I don't want something in my butt, man.
Jake, because you're homophobic as fuck. That's the point that I'm getting to. You're a homophobic, bigoted piece of shit. And that's why it is the case that you associate these particular actions to be quote unquote disgusting, because you can understand that people have different attractions, right? When it comes to women defining men attractive, even though you don't find men attractive, but for some reason you can't find that type of attraction or understand that type of attraction when it comes to gay people because you're a homophobic piece of shit.
Okay, sure, bro. But we're going to look back. You're going to look back in about 10 years and be like, I really said on a live stream I would date a trans woman. And you're going to be like, I was so brainwashed by this TikTok community that you admitted on a live.
That is not brainwashing, dude. What is wrong with this guy? You're just a transphobic, homophobic piece of shit.
Like, I don't think you would date a trans woman. I think
you're a bigot. That's all you are.
I think you would flip shit.
That's
if a trans
that's
woman,
all you are. A complete bigot. You're
dude.
A complete bigot. Athena, is there something you wanted to say? Because I'm honestly over this guy.
I was just gonna say, I was
Athena is the most racist.
straight.
Yeah, you are homophobic. Dude, why are you like proud of that? Why are you
proud of dating a trans woman, bro? Stop acting
my girlfriend,
like that, bro. You are lying straight to the lie for money, bro.
Jake, one, my girlfriend isn't trans, but that doesn't change anything, right? I'm confused what your point is, Jake. Why would it be wrong if that was the case?
It is the case. You just admitted you would date a trans woman, and I just think that's absurd, bro.
Wait, what are you? How is that absurd?
I don't think that's true. I think if you go out to a bar, right, and you find a beautiful, looks to be a woman,
Jake, again, why he doesn't understand boundaries. Why are you thinking of like me going out to bars and talking to people when I'm in a relationship? Like, why can't you just be why can't you just be like, dude, it's weird to go up to someone who's literally in a relationship, who's been very clear that they're in a relationship, right? And ask them about all the different people that they would engage in relationships with.
But that's an easy cop out.
Can you think for 1 second that maybe that's a weird thing to ask to someone who's in a committed long-term relationship? And no, you can't think of that because you don't have committed long-term relationships that have actually been meaningful in your life that you can relate to.
I just got out of one.
Jake, then you should be able to understand boundaries.
Let's zoom out.
Jake, the fact that you don't understand those boundaries is just showing of very bad red flags.
You're right. So let's zoom out to why I think it's relevant. The left in
Jake, no, get off my live. I don't like you.
Oh my god, he is such a weirdo. But anyways, bye. I'm gonna drop back down.
Appreciate you as always, Athena.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that was my first guess, bro. It's like, why do I have to deal with people like that? Dude, it's so weird. It's so weird.
Parker continuing to impress with his increasingly homoerotic takes. I had a couple takeaways I wanted to dive into from what I saw from this clip. Here they are. My first major takeaway is the censorship of anything that may be halfway offensive. And what I mean by that is I'll highlight a tweet from Sovereign Bra in which highlights the fact that individuals more often than not, and increasingly so in this modern environment with modern sensibilities, tend to freak out or have mental or emotional psychotic breaks when they're confronted with premises that they mentally or intellectually cannot contend with. As Soul Bra highlights, the reality to be able to entertain a challenging idea, although you may disagree with it, is something that is a second level of thinking that seemingly so many of the left-wing pundits and left-wing individuals in the general crowd simply do not possess. And to add to that, he continually frames this as having boundaries, although he's in the middle of a live stream, obviously talking about political issues, largely always in the frame of a debate with those kind of parameters, and then argues why certain topics simply cannot be talked about or discussed. And then again, he frames it as boundaries as if it is a personal attack to dive into said topic or discussion, even though it clearly pertains to the topic at hand, which would be his sexual orientation as he's describing it in a logically incoherent position, thus arguing why he is straight even though he's attracted to biological men.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
And the last thing I would like to add here too, if you didn't catch it throughout that clip there, is that he does mute the other individuals on this chat multiple times.
The left in
Jake, no, get off my live. I don't like you.
This is a practice I've actually noticed quite a bit as I've listened in to some of the Crucible's TikTok invasions. It seems that when many of these leftists are pushed into a corner, or they are getting maybe a rebuttal, or the conversation gets slightly heated, they typically go to the mute button, which is to essentially say they are censoring their opponent in a debate. This practice, I believe, is the physical example of what we see when individuals otherwise argue on the left. When they cannot contend with things, they simply turn it off so they can maintain or regain their dominance over the conversation, as they have no other way to articulate themselves back into that position with their own words and logic. The second point, why are you so obsessed? This is such a common rebuttal from the left towards those who are conservative when it does come to these kind of sexual behavior, sexual orientation, sexually related overall issues, which is largely to say that they argue you're weird, which was essentially the smear campaign ran against J.D. Vance, along with some other misinformation attached to that. But it is to paint conservatives as if they are the ones who have some kind of freakish or weird relationship with sexual behavior because they are, quote, so obsessed with this. Now, what I mean to say with that, and to wrap it into a broader context, is this kind of obtuse belief that sexual behavior has zero implications on society, family, and heck, for any ounce of social fabric that actually matters. And we can see this in a couple ways. The first, I would say, is the incentive structure. Largely throughout history, men have done things for the wooing of women. That is a strong incentive for many men, and this can be justly followed throughout history, as many stories, novels, and otherwise actually speak to what many would consider the stupidity or the bravery of men to do certain things in order to appease a woman, as the end goal of most men throughout all of human history has been to maintain a family and achieve that 1950s white picket fence owning a home dream. And inversely, to contrast to that, on the health aspect of this, many health crises have actually been driven by homosexual behavior, also loosely tied to things like hookup culture. But again, homosexuality being outside largely the practice of marriage, which would keep two individuals together in a monogamous relationship, we see the majority of the homosexual community participating in hookup culture. So when we look at things like HIV, monkeypox, and even life expectancy, we'll start with HIV, which you do have the UNAIDS global fact sheet lists that men having sex with men are 25 times more likely to get HIV. And if you move to monkeypox, which is more a statement on the hookup culture, that monkeypox was actually traced back to a rave which was organized by gay men in a foreign country, which then later led to the outbreak that we saw in California. But again, the outbreak spreads because many who are practicing homosexual relationships do not have a monogamous relationship. They tend to step outside the bounds of that and then have multiple partners, thus speeding up the spread of such diseases. Lastly, if you look at life expectancy, a study done using data from the CDC comparing gay obituaries found that the average life expectancy for a homosexual male is 20 years shorter than their heterosexual counterparts. All in all, to frame this, as there are clear and obvious implications, and dangerous ones at that, in participating in a homosexual lifestyle, which I believe is enough to prompt someone to be concerned about said behaviors, especially as it pertains to everyday modern life, health crises, and obvious incentive structures to children, as well as determining what they should or should not be pursuant towards. And lastly, the false dichotomy of pointing out that why are you not grossed out by women being attracted to men, which again is still not the same thing as another male penetrating another male through the anus. These things are actually not the same thing, and it is completely well within the bounds of someone being disgusted by such action. As again, I revert to, once again, the health issue that would be related to that too. But it is not outside the bounds of someone who does practice or is of a certain orientation to find a differing orientation to be gross to them, hence why they probably don't practice it. But this is limited by the fact that everything has to be framed as hateful or homophobic or bigoted, and the only reason that you feel that way is because you hate these individuals, which again is another fallacy, as if you simply say, I don't like said thing, immediately makes a massive jump to, oh, you must hate it if you don't love it, which again is a very incoherent and illogical assumption and conclusion to reach. In conclusion, I would argue largely that the majority of what you just saw in that clip was probably some of the most retarded stuff you've seen in a long time. But this speaks to a broader truth, which is a more of a bigger statement on the left, and in two parts. One, there are still massive influencers on the left that are speaking to Gen Z that are parroting ridiculously what I would deem satanic, demonic even, and outright incoherent and illogical ideologies to the youth. But second to that, when you look at the left as a whole, this has been a common running theme, that you must even say the most incoherent things as to go above and beyond and ensure that you avoid at literally all cost. You do not offend a single individual. And as much as I might find Jordan Peterson to be off his rocker lately, I do always revert to what he said once in an interview, which is, in order to seek the truth, you must risk being offensive. That is the natural order of things. That is the natural order of the First Amendment. Discussion and dialogue cannot be expected to always be civilized, to always be pastel colored and come in with a nice friendly warm hug. Sometimes it slaps you across the face and sometimes that's needed. With that, let me know what you think. If you've already seen it, maybe you have. I know this clip was a little viral maybe a couple of days ago. But let me know what your thoughts are, if you could even stomach or make it through this ridiculous video. But if you did make it all the way through, thank you very much. Make sure you smash the like button. It helps this channel tremendously. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the comments. Thank you very much and take care.